behave. So basically, if you look at here, when you step out of your college and go to the industry world, you have to make congruence. Okay, be clear that you have to make a congruence in such a way that basically you should be here. This part you should combine all these three and come to the real crux of the IQ, EQ, and SQ. Okay, you should have that power, and you should by the time you should attain to that particular power. Okay. Now, speech learning and communication skills continue to be central development of learning. It means that your speech, how you speak, how you communicate, these skills are central. Okay, this is basically a central. Speech, language, and communications are central to your all development and learning. And your future development is basically that. Now, when I talk about communication skill, let's talk about now communication skill. What are the problems? There are many problems. Okay. First thing is there are three major communications. One is oral communication. You speak something, someone listen it, and communication will be done. There are written communications. You give memo to someone, you give note to someone, and other person read it and may not reply, depends upon the subject. Okay. Remember, there is a much difference in the oral communications and the written communication. Oral communication is basically a non-committed. Like therefore the politician sometimes say that, but then after say that I have not said in this contact, that contact. So you can basically have some lull in the oral communication. Written communication is commitment. When you write something on the paper and give it to someone, it becomes commitment. And written communication is basically technology. Oral communication is a development of soft skills. Written communication is technology. You should know English well and fair of writing. Okay. So basically, there are two major communications: oral and written. I'm giving more weightage on the oral communication because written communication you must have learned by now. Okay. And there is a third communication I have put here. Look at here. Okay. The third segment I have put here. Basically non-verbal. Okay, non-verbal. Okay, non-verbal. Non-verbal is basically since when you communicate to someone, 80% of communication is non-verbal. Only 20% of communications are verbal. Okay. Non-verbal means your gestures, your postures, or body language, and what your body says, where your hand is, how your leg is working. Okay, how is your gesture on your face? What is the facial expression? They are all basically conveys. They conveys more powerful than the words. They conveys more powerful than the word. That is very important. Okay. So this is how the communication skill works. Okay. Now the problems. Suppose you miscommunicate. What happens? I have taken this from the very old book actually for your consumption. And since you are a IT person, specifically, I have taken this up. Let's see that. Suppose you have a sponsor. Suppose you want to carry out one project, and suppose you have feasibility study you did like this. That this is would be my project. Okay. Then basically you make a project report. You make a project report. Now making the team who is making project report and the requirement, see, miscommunication goes. And even though project was basically identified like this, but project report basically have these type of specifications. Now, when you go give this job to the system analyst or the senior system analyst to carry out the functionality, okay, he will make a development, he does the development like this. Now, when you go there, it means that this is a development done in the absence of communications or communications. Okay, whereas the things which are earlier foresighted like this. Okay, and then Now that it cannot be implemented, the implemented team produced by the programmer, he will make a program like this. You cannot have a July at all. You cannot have a July at all. Okay. And now the implementation side comes. Now, when you go to the site, now that this won't work, you will cut the tree and make a July in between. Okay, so another communication gap. And actually, what user wanted a very simple solution. So this is how things happen. If you will not communicate effectively, or if you not communicate effectively and efficiently. You know, efficient and effective are two different words. Efficiency means to do right job. Effectively means to do job right. There are hardly two words interchange. To do right job is efficiency. To do work right is effectiveness. In the communication gap, both are missing. So that's the reason why communications are required, and it should be 100% perfect, effective communication should be made. Now, communication is nothing but networking between the people. It is nothing but networking between the two people. Okay. It means that one person speaks something, and it basically your viewpoint, maybe your opinion, maybe your something, your suggestion, and other person listens it. Means communication cannot be done alone. If you do, some people will call you mad and put you into the mental hospital. You require two-person to communicate. You require two-person to communicate. Okay. So this is communication, nothing but networking with the people. Okay. Now, I will come to the major components. We call it in a soft skill, we call it 5 V's of communication. 5 V's I have written down here: Vidya, Vinay, Vapucha, Vastra, and Vani. Now, I mean, these are the Sanskrit words, easy to understand. I will basically explain you, don't fumble yourself much. Vidya means when you communicate something, either in your group, in your team in the industry, to in a conference, presenting a paper in the conference, okay, or when you are communicating, remember that you should have, first thing is, you must have enough knowledge about the subject you are communicating. This is known as a vidya. If you don't have a knowledge, don't communicate. You must acquire a knowledge first. You must acquire a knowledge first. If you don't have a knowledge, don't attempt to communicate. Otherwise, that communication will be poor communication. So first element, very important, is with knowledge of the subject which you are communicating. Second is Vinay. Vinay is very important. Discipline. Vinay is Vinay is basically discipline. Okay, Vinay is basically, yeah, I think, okay. Vinay is basically some sort of a discipline. When you are communicating, you are communicator. And communicator must follow certain discipline. Okay, like he should be alert. He cannot take mobiles during the communications. See, the listener may take mobile and can do so many lot of things. Okay, but the communicator himself will not attend to the mobile when he is communicating. There are certain discipline which communicator has to follow. He has to follow. A communicator cannot yank. Communicator cannot do certain things on the, yeah. Communicator cannot do certain things, so he has to remain in discipline. That is a vinay. Then we come to the vapucha part. Vapucha is very important. We will talk later also on that. Vapucha means your gestures and postures. What is your gestures? What is your postures when you communicate? Remember that, as I said in the beginning, 80% of the communications are being non-verbal level. And non-verbal level are basically your Vapucha part. Here, Vapucha part. How is your facial expression when you communicate? Okay, how is your, when you're putting a hand, how your legs are, whether your legs are tight or legs, you have a gap in between. Because the ideal benchmark is you must have a gap between two legs when you communicate on a stage. They're very important. And your legs should be firmly with the ground. Okay, these are the certain benchmark you should follow when you communicate. Okay, when you and stand straight, actually, that's very important when you communicate. Okay. Then fourth, Vapucha will talk later also. Then Vastra, fourth part, Vastra. Vastra means your dressing when you communicate. Dressing is very important. You feel that what is so good about dressing? If I am a good communicator, why should I bother about the dress? Okay, why should I bother about this? But not. You will not be impressive if you are lousy dress. You should be impressive also when you communicate. Suppose you go to present your paper in a conference, or when you go to present your profile to the team of the people in the industry, so that they will select you. Okay. Now, if you go lousy dress, it is a very first bad image. You should know that which color of trousers, color of shirt should be there, which color of shirt, what color of trousers should be there. Okay, I mean you should not be like hero, etc. But you must have some good sense, and you should look decent. That is very important. Decent is the right word. You should put a vastra or dressing in such a way that you should always look decent in that dress. Okay, so that people get impressed, and even though if you have some lacunas in the communication, it will go away. It's very important. I would like to quote here one nice slok of Niti Shastra. There is a one slok. I will speak out this slok. Kim vasasa tattva vicharavanyam vasah pradhanam khalu yogyataha Ambaram Vishya Dadosa Kanyam, Charbambaram Vishya Visham Samudraha. I'm sure that you might not have understood it. I will explain to you actually, and therefore I have spoken the slok. Kim Vasas Tattva Vicharavanyam means what is there in the dressing? Dress से क्या होता है? Okay. पण ये विचारवादी is thinkable. Is basically thinkable. Okay. Vasa pradhanam khalu yogyataha. It means that dressing is everything. This was the slok in the Niti Shastra actually. Okay. Niti Shastra, it was written by Chanakya. Means dress is everything. Then two sentences are very important. Okay. He gave an example. Pitambaram Vishya Dadosha Kanya. Means in the Samudra Manthan, when the Vishnu, the god Vishnu, have a very good pitambara and very highly well dressed. Samudra gave him Lakshmi actually, his own daughter. So Pitambaram Vishya Dadosa Kanya and Charmambaram Vishya Visham Samudra. And that Lord Shiva, who is always in the Charmambaram and not particular about dressing, no? And Samudra gave him the poison, Visham. So this is how the dressing is important, very, very important. When you come, dressing is much important. Okay. And it should look decent. You should not look like heroic, or you should not be so fantastic about your dress, but it should look decent. Then last one, Vani. Vani also will talk later on. Vani means your speech. How you speak. How you speak. Okay. What is your timbre? Timbre part we'll see later on. Everyone's is unique. My timber is different than yours. Your timber might be different than your friends. Okay, likewise. Okay. So we will talk it slightly later about that also. Okay. Then, what are the goals of communication? When you communicate, there are many goals. One is, if you communicate in an interview, you wanted to get selected. If you communicate in a conference room, you wanted that your paper will get a prize. If you communicate in the class, you wanted to deliver a good session. Basically, there are goals. Okay, there are goals. Some identified goals are to change the behavior. You wanted to change the behavior of others. And second is to get action. Third is to ensure understanding. You communicate so that your understanding is clear and other person's confusion will go. To pursue the matter, you want to your matters as well you are communicating. To get and give information. Sometimes simply you wanted to give information to your friends, groups, or a team, or a higher ups or groups. Okay. So this is what the major cause of a communication. Now the problems with communication. This is I have just given some characteristics on the communications or components of the communications. Now, before I go to the exact architecture of the communication, let's understand people are different and we need to understand these differences. All different in the traits actually as we have seen in the beginning. Okay. Two basic differences between the people are personality and perceptions. Everybody has his or her own personality. If you are 6 feet tall, you are 6 feet tall. If you are fair skin, fair skin. If you are dark skin, you are dark skin. If you are brown, you are brown. Okay. This is a which hardly changes it. Yeah, there are some beauty parlors, but hardly you change much. Hardly if you are fair, you remain fair actually. Like as if you are 6 feet tall, you cannot become short. If you are 5 feet only, you cannot become tall like 6 feet. So personality is something which is unique to you, unique and special to you, unique and very very special to you. And other is person. Everybody has his or her own perception. That is very, very important. Okay, everybody has his or her own perception. Okay. Now, let's say perception plays a very, very important role actually in your life, in your growth. Okay. I will give an example. You all may be knowing about the Karan Johar and Prakash Jha. I'm sure that all here must have heard about them and must be knowing sometime better than me. Both are making movies. Okay, both are making movies. Both are good movie makers. Now look at the movie directed by Karan Johar. He directed कुछ कुछ होता है, कभी कभी गम, कभी अलविदा ना कहना, कल हो ना हो, ए दिल है मुश्किल. See this type of film which are directed by the Karan Johar. And see the characteristics. In all this film, a posh environment, there are no villains actually. There are no blood shedding on the screen. All happy ending. Okay. This is what the typical Karan Johar is. On the other hand, let's talk about the Prakash Jha. Prakash Jha is also a filmmaker. See the film he has directed, Ganga Jal, Satyagrah, Rajniti, Apharan, Arakshan, Chakravyuh. If you look at the characteristics of these films are basically a lot of blood boiling into the film, lot of blood shedding on the street, lot of violence in the film. Okay. There are a lot of villains are there, okay, and lot of scenes which are very, irritating to our eyes, very violent scenes are there. Why? Why this difference? And remember, both are very good movie makers. Karan Johar movie are also good. Let us be clear about it. Prakash Jha movie are also making good. Reason is what? Because both have a different perception. Karan Johar, born and brought up with a silver spoon in the mouth. He was a rich family, born in a rich family. He had never seen villain in his life actually. He had never seen. Okay, so basically it means that he cannot make the movie with villains. He cannot make movie with the violence because he had never seen violence in the house. And therefore, even though he try, he cannot make movie like the Prakash Jha. Prakash Jha, on the other hand, born and brought up in Bihar, in the Naxalis area. Okay, I always seen the blood on the street. Okay, and he was coming from a very poor family, and that's the reason it reflects in his family, in his movies also. This is the perception. This is the perception. Even though he wanted to make a movie like a Kuch Kuch Hota Hai, he cannot make. And Karan Johar, even though he wanted to make a movie like Ganga Jal, he cannot make because they don't have aptitude. They don't have perception for it. This is the major difference between the persons, person to person, person to person. Okay. Means everybody have a different personality and perception. A different personality and perception. Okay. And these differences, now come to the point, these differences causes people to behave differently towards other in the same situation, which causes communication problems. Try to understand. Okay. Basically, personality and perception, something very unique to everyone actually. Okay. You are very unique and special. Enjoy yourself. You are very unique and special. Enjoy yourself. But that is your perception and your personality. Okay. And which is different from others. Okay. So perception and personality makes communication problem more complex because everybody looks at their own perception. Okay. Now, remember, don't try to change the perception or personality. Personality you can't change also. Someone will always be prettier, someone will always be smarter, someone will always be younger, but they will never you. You are wonderful actually. Okay, you are yourself, you are unique, you are special. Okay, so don't try to live the other's life. So perception is something which is unique to everyone. Okay, I have given my example that how the perception goes, what Wikipedia thinks, what Google thinks, what Facebook thinks, what internet thinks, and what the electricity thinks. Okay. So perception varies like this. Okay. Wikipedia feels I know everything in the world. Google say I have everything in the world. Facebook say I know everybody. And internet say without me you all are nothing. Whereas the electricity say keep talking bitches. If I am not there, nothing will be there. This is the perception. All are basically individual have virtues and marriage, demarriage, but this is the perception. Okay. Now, other problem in basically there are two major problems. One is never be judgmental. When you communicate with a person, don't try to judge the person. Never become judgmental. You are not there to judge him. You are there to communicate with him. Okay. Never try to be judgmental. You become wrong. You will be wrong. And second is never underestimate anybody. Okay. Never become judgmental. That is very important. Okay. Never judge anybody. Okay. I have given one example here to make my point more strong and clear. Can you judge who the better person out of these three? I have given the characteristic of three persons. Mr. A, he had a friendship with bad politicians, consults astrologers, two wives, chain smoker, drinks 8 to 10 times a day. This is the attitude and the characteristics of Mr. A. He was kicked out of office twice, sleeps till noon, use opium in office, drinks whiskey every evening. This is the characteristic of Mr. B. Mr. C, he is a decorated war hero, a vegetarian, doesn't smoke, doesn't cheat to his wife, okay, never cheated to his wife, doesn't drink. Now, if you want, who is the better, Mr. A or Mr. B or Mr. C? Now, with common sense, judge that you would want Mr. C is right because he is a decorated war hero, vegetarian, doesn't smoke, doesn't cheat to his, doesn't drink also. So, but remember that when you judge another, you don't define them, you define yourself. That's very important. So, don't go into the judging exercise while communicating. There are certain occasions where you have to judge also, but not while communicating. Unless you want to know what are who the A, B, and C. Let's say Mr. A was Franklin Roosevelt, Mr. B was a Winston Churchill, and Mr. C, to whom you feel he is right, he was Adolf Hitler, okay, and 10 million people, he killed 10 million people actually, did it? So strange but true, it's risky to judge anyone by his habits. Character is a complex phenomenon. Remember, it's a very complex phenomenon. So every person in your life is important. Don't judge them and accept them. That's what the one first rule of communication. You are not there to judge anybody. You are there to communicate. When you have to communicate to the team, when you are communicating to seniors, communicate accordingly. Don't try to judge the seniors. They are not the fools sitting on the higher chairs. That's very important. Now, you may wear the most expensive clothes you have in your wardrobe, because I have seen that vastra is also important. Yet people may not notice and may even fail to notice your presence. This may be because you are feeling down, unhappy, or depressed. Remember that do the communication process. When you are communicating something, you should be enthused about what you are communicating. You should be enthusiastic. If I'm communicating on a specific topic, first I should be enthusiastic. If I am not enthusiastic, I cannot become a good communicator. First, be enthusiastic about the subject you are communicating. Okay. So basically, and you should believe that. If you don't believe, don't communicate. If you don't believe certain things, don't communicate it. So remember that you should be enthusiastic about what you are talking to. Otherwise, if you are not enthusiastic, you look bored and your communication will go poor. Now, another point is communication is two-way process. Many people feel that I am good at communication, that's all. But remember that communication, there are two people, not one. You have to see, you have a good capacity also. You should have a good capacity also. So basically, it means that keep on communicating is not enough. You should see that whatever you have communicated has reached to the listener or not. Suppose you're making some point in a team, an industry, you wanted to explain something. Okay, you want to explain the project, what you are doing to your team, project team members. At that time, remember that you should see that everyone, it reaches to everyone. You are not alone actually. You are not alone. Say most of the people feel that I am good at communication, others are not. Problem start with that. Okay, because all are individual. All are individual. That's what the communication is, the two-way process. I have given certain definitions now. Now book definitions I have given. I have explained you about the communication. Now I am giving you a definition. Remember that the moment you go out of your college, the very first problem you have to communicate with the unknown people. You have to communicate. Here you are communicating, chatting with your friends and faculties, to whom you know since years. In the industry, it won't happen. You will be meeting the people first time. Okay. Remember, you have to. You have to basically make a certain. You have to make a certain rules. Okay. When you meet an unknown person, start with hello. Very important. Second is look around like this. Don't look at them, don't stare him directly. Okay. And offer compliments. If something is to be done, offer compliments to him or her. Okay. And if you want to ask question, he asks general question. What is the new thing about the Donald Trump like that? Don't ask a family question or personal question in the beginning. So remember that there are certain protocols you have to follow when you meet unknown. And remember, in the industry, all are unknown in the beginning to you. And you should be very careful because that will make your foundation in the industry. How you are communicating. That makes your foundation and that makes your ladder is short or lengthy. It makes it. That's very important. Okay. Now the communication definitions are like the exchange of thoughts, message, or the like as by speech, signals, or writing. There's one definition. I have put here 4 5 book definition. To express oneself in such a way that one is readily and clearly understood. So second person or second partner came listener. You should be clearly understood by the other person, and then you have good communication. Third is communication is sad feeling, sad understanding. You are sharing something. See, you know the word commune, how is a Greek word. To commune means to share. To commune means share. to make your viewpoint or to convince others with your viewpoint. That is the commune. And the process of commune is the communications. Now, if you can honestly achieve that goal, you are good communicator. Remember that you should sad feeling, sad understanding properly, you are a good communicator. Now, communication have many styles. Communication have many styles. Some aggressive in communication, some are submissive in communication, some are assertive in communication. Aggressive means only I matter, you don't. You keep on communicating whether the other person listening or not listening. साहब आप हो जाओगे इंडस्ट्री ऐसे एग्रेसिव रहोगे aggressive is required but not everywhere कि aggressive character is welcome but not everywhere कि you otherwise will fail. Submissive is good actually, only you matter, I don't, means you are submissive will be called docile, you don't have stuff actually, you wanted to submit yourself to someone. They are submissive communication. Nobody likes a submissive communication. All the submissive communication people may like aggressive. Most important and most desirable communication is assertive communication. Assertive communication is not only I matter, you too. Means communicate in such a way that the other listener, either your team members, either your manager, either your health department, either your director, either your chairman. Remember that you should always keep in mind not only I matter, but you too give him or her proper respect. Then you can make a good communication. Assertive skill we'll see later on also. But assertive communication means how you make your other person also more comfortable when you communicate and you give respect to that person also, the other side also. Now, there are many styles. Some are direct aggression, like some communicate bossy, arrogant. The boss always communicate like that. But there's no communication all the time. Some are indirect aggression, right? Some sarcastic communication you do. You manipulate people and hello? Anything? Okay. Some are direct aggression means you communicate sarcastically, ambiguous, manipulative, guilt inducing, like that. But that is also not a good communication. Submissive, helplessness, passive, indecisive. Remember that aggressive and submissive communications are not liked by anybody in the industry. You should be assertive. If you want to climb the ladder fast in CEO, you should be assertive. So it is direct, honest, acceptability, takes responsibility about what you communicate, and spontaneous. Remember that when you communicate something, you should take responsibility about what you are communicating, not that just in the air. You should take responsibility of what you are communicating. That you will do that. That's what the various style of communication. Now, when you start communicating in an industry to a team, your posture communicates even before you start communicating words. Very important. Okay. So, everything I have talked about the dressing sense earlier. Okay. See, before you speak, your posture speaks. How you will be, how you will, what you will be. People will judge you with your posture. That's very important. Will judge you with your, if your docile posture, people will judge you as a mild person and cannot carry out the task properly. That's very important. Okay. So this is how, posture communicates even before you start communicating through your words. Now, your voice. I wanted to give some more time. Your voice and what it does form the intra-verbal level of communication. Voice has a different components actually. How did you put forward your voice in communication is more important. Each person has a voice ranging from 2 to 4 octaves. People can make a voice in 2 to 4 ways. Each person can express any gamut of emotions through his voice. Remember that when you communicate, you have to make a point. When you address team, addressing conference, delivering a session. Always add some humor into your communication. But humor to the extent, you should not look like humorous or you should not look like joker. That's very important. Okay. But add some dosage of humor into that. Humor into that so that the communication becomes smooth. Second is add emotions into that. Means you should be emotionally connected to what you communicate. So when you are, but remember that emotions and humor, you should add it in your communication to make it more perfect. But to a level, humor should not be, you look like humorous. Emotion should not be added that you become emotional fool. You should be careful about. Sarvatra varjyate. Anything in excess is a poison. Okay, remember that nothing to be in excess. It should be in judicial quantity. Okay. Even amrit also becomes a poison if you take more, doesn't it? So ati sarvatra vajyate. Emotions and the humor you should add it, but to a extent. That's very important. I have seen that many people, I don't know whether you remember or not. Bill Clinton was caught doing some indecent thing with Monica Lewinsky before 10 years actually. Okay, and he was to lose his presidency in USA. Okay, there was, but then he came there on the to public addressing, and I have basically seen that speech, and on internet it is available. You also see that, you listen that speech. Very beautifully he is communicated to the USA public, USA citizens, so emotionally, but he was not emotional at all. So emotionally and touchy that the public of USA or citizen of USA has forgiven him. Even Hillary Clinton also forgave him. Okay, that's very important. Okay, so emotions plays a very important role when you communicate. Be careful about it. How much to add? Okay, how much to add? Now there are two things. I have written two words here: familiar voice and the natural voice. What is familiar voice? What is natural voice? Familiar voice is something which you actually modulate your voice. Natural voice, whatever voice by nature you got it. Okay, that is what basically a natural voice. Okay. Let's I will give you some more details on that ultimately. Okay. What are the basically instruments in a familiar voice? Why this is required? Basically, your voice has three components. Component one, timbre, volume, okay, and speech. Again, listen. Your voice, your word voice has three distinct components: timbre, volume, pitch. Timbre is basically signature of your voice. Timbre is signature of your voice. It means that everyone has a unique timbre. If I speak, I will speak in my timbre. If Lata Mangeshkar sings today, he has her own timbre. Okay. And if the Nana Patekar or some Narendra Modi, our beloved Prime Minister, he speaks something, they speak in their own timbre. Means you can recognize that who is speaking. So timbre is in a nutshell, timbre signature of your voice. Okay, you know by timbre who is speaking. If there is a darkness and if your friend is speaking, you know that Mr. X is spoken. Because everyone has a unique timbre. Now the problem here is what? Everyone's timbre is not rich. If you are born with the rich timbre, you are God gifted, and your communication becomes very easy. Okay. But unfortunately, timbre is something develop in you the moment you start crying, and that timbre remains with you till you go to the graveyard. Timbre never is in your life. Okay, okay, that's the same way Lata Mangeshkar still sings. Okay, even though there whatever there is something deterioration because of the ages. Otherwise, timber remains the same. Timber never changes. That's very important. Okay. So timber is something a God gift or ungift. Now some people have a poor timber. It means that they can make a good communications. Then they have to learn the technique of communication. They have to do voice modulation. They have to do the voice modulation. Means they have to make this volume of voice high and low and the pitch, the frequency of their words in a such a way that they can modulate the voice. The process is known as the modulation of voice. Process is known as the modulation of voice. They do the modulation of voice, but once you modulate voice, what happens? Here there is a problem. Once you modulate your voice, your original voice gone, and you come to a clear voice. Your natural voice has gone now because you have modulated. You have modulated so that it becomes more effective. More many like Raza Murad and in the older days Sanjay Kumar, they are the actors who have modulated their voice like anything. Otherwise, the timber was very weak. The timber was very weak. So basically, here there is a now nature voice unmodulated. Familiar voice means you have modulated in such a way that making a volume and the pitch adjusted so that it becomes effective. Okay. So now, and to be more clearly, suppose you are talking to your boss. Na? You might have a familiar voice. You have basically modulated, but going. Suppose the tire of the car comes crosses to your leg, and whatever you put it, na, there's a natural voice. Remember that natural voice is something, or your original timber. If it is rich, like Amitabh Bachchan or someone, then you are God gifted. If it is not rich, you have to make more efforts to modulate your voice. And how you modulate? You have vocal controls. You have a throat, you have a nose, you have a jaws, you have a lips, you have a tongue, you have a breath, you have a diaphragm. Okay, like Himesh Reshammiya always sings with the nose, doesn't it? So you can always modulate your voice. You can always modulate your voice. That's very important. And to make your communication more effective, you need to modulate your voice. That's very important. Okay. So basically, breath and sound must always be connected to thought and feeling of the releasing or natural voice. Okay. So this is how you can make your voice more effective. So this is what the same thing. Speech has to do with sound, rhythm, whereas volume, timbre, and pitch of your voice. A master of the art of communication has fineness about putting all this into the bare words and expressing himself or herself. So these are the components, and you have to be very careful to use it. See. Now, second comes when you do the, say, I will have a couple of slides before we have a break for 10-15 minutes. Say, when you start communicating, what happened? Go to an interview, or if you are lecturer and you go to talk, or you are going to present your paper, or you are appearing in an interview. Now, what happens is everyone has their own problems, whether we. Okay. There is nobody who is problemless or who is minus problem. Everybody has their own problem. So their mind, everyone's mind is always occupied with something. The mind is at horse actually, undeterred. Will bound off you of the very of the universe. Yet, so mind to be tamed. First, your mind to be tamed, and then listener's mind to be tamed. What is required to be done? This is what they basically a grounding process. Wherever you go, remember that never, what do you call it? Never start communicating immediately, either in the interview, in the delivering a session, or presenting a paper. Never start immediately. The reason is there are problems. all may not be ready to listen to you. You have to wait for some time. And you have to do grounding. This is known as the grounding process, one of the very important process in a communication. You have to do grounding because that persons might be thinking something else, may not be thinking about you when you go there. Okay. So you have to enroot yourself. You have to have an rapport with the audience, look at the audience, be positive about the audience, okay. Have a self-confidence, gain a self-confidence, okay. Have a clarity of thoughts which you wanted to deliver, okay. Understand the people who are sitting there. They may be higher up, sometimes they may be your colleagues, sometimes they may be your students, okay. And then understand what is the audience, what is the level of that audience, so that you can tailor-made your communication. Okay. Be enthusiastic, I said earlier also. You should be enthusiastic about what you are speaking. Okay. And most important, make eye contact. Have an eye contact with everyone. If there are 5 people or 10 people, make eye contact with them. But it may be difficult if it is a very huge crowd like a class, etc. But if it is a team, make eye contact with all. Why? Why eye contact is required? Reason is, say, our speaking speed is around average 110 words per minute. Whereas the listening speed, average listening speed is 222 hundreds per minute. It means there is a big 110 to 120. Almost double. Means you can't speak at the level or the speed of the listening. So there is a gap. There is a gap between the listening and speaking. Now, what the team member will do during that time? During that time, the team member, basically their mind will become empty. The mind will go California and come back perhaps. You never know what happens. Okay. So because my brain is dead. Okay. So if you have eye contact, then the persons become conscious actually. Okay, and he will not much while going away also from your talk. So have eye contact with all. Eye contact means have not eyeball to eyeball contact. Have eye contact with all the members to whom you are communicating. This is very important. Okay, so that a grounding will be done. A ground, and you should know the audience. What is the level of the audience? How learned they are, or they are not learned, or whatever. You must know about it. You must know about it. Okay, because audience may have other thing in their mind, and you have to bring to the your job of communication. A communicator's job is not only to affect them, but to affect as he or she wishes. You to see that they will basically affected by your talk. So to have them tune into what you are saying, grounding process is very important. Then you always convey your positive thoughts. Very important in communication. You should have a positive thoughts to be conveyed. Okay. And you always get your positive image. You have to create a positive self-image because negative self-image is destroying. You destroy yourself also. So always create a positive self-image and convey the positive self-image. What is the and try to understand what is the purpose of communications. Okay, what is to be delivered? How much time you have to deliver? What is the end result? You must be clear about that. There is a clarity of thoughts in your mind about your communication. Be clear about, if you are clear about all these things, it will be easy to be successful in an interview. It will be easy to successful in putting your viewpoint to your team. It will be easy to convince the other person that you. This is a process known as grounding process. Remember a couple of things. One is when you go to the, there is always one group of people whose full-time job is to oppose you, either a short group or a big group. Okay, some people are always there with a habitual nature, whose full-time job is to oppose you. Whatever you say, they oppose you. Okay, remember, wherever you go, you find such lot. maybe in a lesser quantity, or sometime maybe in a more quantity. Take care of these guys. Remember, they are really wonderful people. You have to handle them. You have to handle them. That care you should take while communicating itself. Key. So otherwise you will find such people everywhere. You will find such people everywhere. So this is how you should do the grounding process. You should do the grounding process. Okay. Now I'm just passing this fast because I already talked about this. Clarity of thoughts precedes a clear communication. Carelessness is a bad communication. Be careful about it. Don't remain, see, in college, you may be uh, very light. You may be somewhat very hanky-panky or some sort of a, you may not take things seriously. It happens. I was also in college, don't worry about it. I also did post-graduation. Basically, the problem is what? Problem is when you go to the industry world, such thing will not work. Carelessness will not work. You cannot afford to be lousy. Okay. You require to be disciplined. You require to communicate in such a way that everyone will take you seriously. Okay. Therefore, we should understand the people. And therefore, make enthusiastic, be enthusiastic, make eye contact. Or no messages are there, be interested in the audience. Whenever you talk to someone, first you're interested in the audience. First, you believe whatever you speak. You must believe whatever you are speaking. If you will not, other that's very important. Okay. So believe whatever you speak. These are the most common ways of communication: spoken words, written words, body language, the images. Body language, however, we'll talk later on also. Okay. So this is how communications preliminary I am concluding here. I is Vinita or Jenny there?
Yes, sir, I am there.
Can we have a break of 10 minutes?
Yes, sir, sure. Students, you are requested to rejoin within 10 minutes. The link is open. Okay, so you may join around 4:40.
Yeah, 4:40 or so. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Students, you may leave and rejoin on the same link.
Okay. Then.
So you may, if wish, you can also take a break.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I'm there available on this link only.
Can we start?
Yes, sir, we can start now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, welcome back. I will start from where we left. Is the slide visible?
It's coming back after discussing with
Yes, sir, it's visible.
Is visible, okay.
Yes.
I will continue from where we left actually.
Yeah. Okay.
What we are talking about communication, the major question is why should we communicate? I have given a lot of reason also why should we communicate. Major reason is to share your point, to share your feeling, to your experience, or to put your basic technical skill or to someone where matters. These are all basically the things why we want to communicate. Now, there is a very interesting story or other things which has happened. In the 13th century, more here, in the 13th century, Frederick was there, a Roman emperor. He was, emperor ruled the whole Rome actually at that time, and that time Rome was having a one third of Earth. Now he wanted to know that what was the first language spoken by mankind in the Garden of Eden. He wanted to know that what language people were speaking when they came into being on the earth. Now, to understand this, Patrick, what he did is he did one experiment. He did one experiment. He basically ordered that he collected in his empire that some infants who were newly born. He separated all infants newly born into one safe place in the palace, and no, in that place, no a single word. They are basically looked after by the nurses, etc. And they were also strictly, they don't have to, pardon? They don't have to speak. So in that way, what happened is the infants were there. There were no nobody has talk anything, and all people were strictly instructed. Okay, they are isolated actually, and you know the result what happened, because he wanted to know that where the very first language which was spoken in the Garden of Eden, Greek or Hebrew or which language, he wanted to know that. And the moment they start speaking, they will happen how the experiment actually goes. Actually, nothing has happened. All people died. Lack of communications, maybe later. It happens that you don't communicate to anybody, it will be dangerous to you. And आप लोगों ने शायद वो लॉकडाउन में थोड़ा बहुत एक्सपीरियंस भी दिया होगा कि कितने पागल जैसे हो जाते हैं लोग. It happens, isn't it? So this experiment says that communication is a must. I mean, strong, poor, there's a different story together. But from communication is a must and person to person. Okay. Otherwise, anything can happen. Okay. Now, come to the point. There are verbal communications, non-verbal communication. As I said, 80% of communications occur at the non-verbal level. 80%, a huge number of percentage on the non-verbal level. So basically, your body is more important. Your body language is quite important. Okay. Now, levels. One is verbal. Non-verbal means your body language, your gestures, your postures, your movement. If you are given stage, you should move also on the stage. so that you can cover the eyesight. I mean, you have eye contact with all the people sitting in the class or sitting in a team. Okay. So it should be a movement. Your movement is also required. But while your movement, you should be careful about the movement. So that why you are moving, you know. So you are moving so that because wherever you look, wherever you walk, your your world travels into that direction. That's very important. If you look at left side, then your world travels on the left side. If you look at if you move and look at the right side, it happens that your world travel on the right side. This is very important. Okay. So wherever you move, remember that you will move uniformly in such a way that communication will reach to each and everyone intended to communicate. This is very key. So this is how gestures are basically your facial expression. Should always keep pleasant actually. We should always keep your pleasant, even though you are sometimes you are mentioning something strict about, but your gestures should always be pleasant. That's very, very important. Okay. Or postures, there are certain benchmarks which we have to follow. I will basically go through. Third level is proxemics. How much near you should go. Suppose a very close group. Suppose a very close group, your team of 8, 10 people. You are heading the team in an industry and you are basically explaining about your problem or explaining about your project. How much near you should go to the guys? Okay. So you can't go very near to them, number one. Okay. You make at least a special strategical distance. Hierarchy should be met whether you are going towards the senior or a junior. Be careful about it. And you have to have border limits and territory. You should not go very near that people will come in the security mode. Okay, you have to keep certain distance. How much distance? There are basically benchmark on that. I will show you in the next slide. There are certain benchmark. How much near you should go to the audience, or how much near you should go to the people to whom you are communicating. Then the fourth level is symbolic. Sometimes symbols plays a role other than gesture, posture, and the proxemics and verbal, non-verbal. Sometimes because people are emotionally related to issues and matter, like our swastik symbol. You know that if there is a in a ground there is a yellow place, no yellow wall, no? People in the evening or in the dark time do some urinate at that wall, etc. So you may have seen that there are certain god and goddess trials are put there, so that this is a symbolic communication. So looking to the swastik symbol or symbol, people will not do indecent thing there. Key. So this is what symbolic communication is actually. Let's say how much proximity, how much near you should go to the persons to whom you are communicating. Not necessarily you may have one-to-one communication, you have to one-to-group team communication, or you have one-to-many communication, like in presenting a paper in a conference. There are many levels actually. Okay. So how much proximity you should do? How much near you can go to the person to whom you are communicating? Okay. One is, suppose a person is intimate to you, okay, then you can touch him to 18 feet reserved for certain people. You can't go beyond 18 feet, even though they are intimate to you. At least 1.5 feet you should be away. You should keep distance between you and the person to whom you are communicating. Okay. And if you are making some personal communications to a team, then you put 1.5 to 4 feet away, like especially familiar people or in a training, etc. At least 2 to 4 feet you should be away from the audience or from the participant or from the team members. At least 1.5 to 4 feet you should be away. That's the ideal distance you should keep. If it is social function, 4 to 12 feet, like business or co-workers, you have professional distance, professional status. You don't go much near to the 4 feet. You don't suppose there is a chairman or the CEO of the company and you have to communicate to him. Don't go within the 4 feet. Communicate after the 4 feet, between 4 to 12 feet. That's very important. Okay, that's very important because you are communicating to a senior people. Speak about it. And suppose in the public speaking, I don't know, there is a public speaking you are having. I have some experience. But if public speaking is that, at least you have to give 12 to 25 feet away. Okay, and that's very important to the communicator. So this is the proximity of space, and we have a benchmark for that. Now this is very important slide. I want to show it to you. Your body is basically divided into 3 parts. One is head, then second part torso, and the legs. Now the body language is very important. These all 3 parts are also very important. How you use these 3 parts while communicating, while putting in postures. Okay. Head is basically some sort of a conceptual, is a basically intellectual portion of your body. Okay, and then the face also. You should always see that. Your face is always pleasant, looking pleasant to the people to whom you are communicating. Okay. Now torso, there is a fundamental rule that torso should be straight. You should not lean. You should be straight. Wherever you communicate, no matter, either you communicate to the senior people or a junior people or a team member or your friend or relative, torso you must keep a straight. This should be always straight, and so that it looks defensive, but it should be straight. If it lean, then it looks a bold personality of you. Be clear about it. Okay. And legs, as I said, legs you keep some distance between 2 legs. And legs should be firmly grounded. It should not be shaky. It should be firmly grounded when you are communicating. Okay. And actually, sometimes what happened, earlier I was not knowing that why the concept of that particular dash. See, when normally the bigger conference room, there is always dais. You will go to the dais and communicate. There are so many people sitting on the front. Okay. So डायस I think इसलिए रखा होगा कि आपका पाँव क्या करता है ना लोग देख ना पाए. Because डायस only your head will be shown, not the legs and body. Okay. Anyway, that might be the reason. That's what my logic actually. May be true, may not be true. But remember that your body, the 3 parts, always be careful. First part, second part, and the third part. All be careful about all these 3 parts. What these 3 parts are doing. Okay. Unfortunately, hands are also a part of your torso. But in a communication, they say there is no benchmark where to put hand while communicating. Either you should put hand on the neck or on the face like this, or you have to put on your this thing in the pocket, or where should you put hand actually? That's the problem actually. The reason is if you put your hand in a pocket, you look very casual. Don't never put if you are making a very meaningful communication, never put your hand into the pocket. That's very important. Never put your hand into the pocket. Okay. First thing is, sometimes may happen that when you take the hand out of your pocket, along with the handkerchief, etc., will go to the stage, and you will basically have a sorry figure to collecting all these things. There is another way. But anyway, never put your hand into the pocket while communicating to anybody. It gives a wrong impression. It gives a wrong image. It gives a wrong image actually. Okay. And legs should be straight, firmly grounded whenever you communicate. Now, if I will basically give you one example of Chinese soldier. See what to, because so that your torso should remain straight, I have said in the earlier slide, your torso should remain straight. That's very important. Okay, your torso must remain straight. Okay. So to have a straight torso, or you have to keep chin up. It not only is good for your posture and diminishing double cheek, also helps to maintain that I can handle it attitude. If you are straight, no, it gives some sort of a I can handle it attitude. That's very important. Key. And you can keep your head straight. And therefore, you know that what Chinese soldiers are doing. Key. Chinese soldiers are having a pin injury. Chinese soldiers stick needles here in their collar. Key. And to keep ideal posture. They keep a needle here. So even if he will not straight, no, that needle will basically goes into the neck and it is paining, so it will remain the straight. This is what the Chinese people are doing to make their posture more straight and more impressive. That is very important part of Chinese people. Now, as far as the body language is concerned, when you do the verbal communication, the words that is a unit. Your unit of the verbal communication is a word. But in non-verbal communication, your gesture is a unit. What is your gesture? You are basically conveying happiness, conveying sorrow, you are pleasant or you are bold face or pleasant face. This is what basically gesture is. So whenever people and interact, meet and interact, okay, always observe non-verbal communication. Your body language, not conjunctive signals, kinetics, subrosa. Say basically, you say every time you did not have to speak also. See, you know that some people actually, some people communicate with communicating. Okay, when you don't communicate, it means that you are communicating something. Depends upon your position in the industry. Depends on your now how loud you speak or how slow you speak. Also depends. Normally, the bosses, no, those who are on the senior level, no, they speak very, very slow. You have to basically take care to listen them. And the workers in the industry basically makes a big sound actually, isn't it? So be careful that what type of thing you are making. As far as gestures are concerned, there are some study going on. Confused gesture means dumb mouth, eye blinks. If you are like that, it basically conveys that you are confused. If you are firm look, you are very aggressive. You are firm look, you are very aggressive. Okay. And you are surprised and you have O formation of your mouth. Okay. Where the eye open or mouth open, it is a surprise. I mean, you are surprised. You are conveying, you are surprised to the people. If face looks, you are open. Okay. Likewise, if your hand is not in the pocket, you are open. Okay. You look open to the people. Okay. Suspicious, eye movement will be narrow. Suppose your eye movement is narrow, that gesture basically is talk about the you are suspicious. Eye will be constant and face looks more stable. It is bored. State of face and eye, you are ready to talk something. And mouth shut, eyeball will be constant. Then you are assertive. They're very important. Your eyeball should be constant. When your eyeball is constant, you are assertively communicating. So try to keep your eyeball constant. Now, there are some barriers. We have to learn the techniques actually. The reason is, no, you cannot become a good communicator, overnight become a good communicator. You have to develop that skill. You should know these rules actually. You should basically know the rules of communication, which I'm trying to share with you. Okay. You know that there is a Michelangelo in Rome. Michelangelo who had sculptured Vatican City. So once Rome Pope asked Michelangelo, how you are making such a good statue of Mary and all that. Then Michelangelo said that beauty is in every stone. I am just removing the irrelevant. Beauty is in every stone. I am just removing the irrelevant. So that's why you have a communication capacity. Only thing you should be like Michelangelo. You should remove the irrelevant things and try to make a perfect communication. That's what the purpose of this workshop. Okay. And that is required when you go to the industry. Okay. So there are some barriers at the communicator side. First is unwillingness to relate to different people differently. Say you cannot communicate the same way to all the people. You have to see the level of the people. Okay, as we have seen in the beginning, that perceptions and personality plays a very different role. You should be clear that with which type of person, what style of the communication you should do. Okay, so unwillingness to, if you are unwilling to relate the different people differently, you are not good communicator. If you are unwillingness to learn new approaches, you are not good. You have to always keep on learning a new approaches. Voice quality. Voice quality will be good, even though your timbre is weak. Even though your timbre is weak. Okay, see that even your timbre is weak. Remember that voice quality is very important. Okay, voice quality is very, so you have to voice modulation. If timbre is weak, then that was the things which is required. Okay, and we have seen that you have a some sort of many this thing. You have a volume and you have a pitch so that you can modulate your voice. Okay? So voice quality, improve your voice quality. Then disagreement between verbal and non-verbal. Sometimes your body speaks something, you speak something, which is very dangerous. Okay, which is totally a poor communication. Sometimes what happens that you are talking to your team member or you are talking to your senior people in the industry that I will do that, I will do that, but your body doesn't say that because you internally you know what you can do. Everybody knows what one can do. Everybody knows what one can do. So if there is a disagreement between verbal and non-verbal messages, is a totally poor communication. Basically, your words, your action, and your movement should be in harmony. That is more important. Say in Gita there is a sloka, na? Manasa, Vacha, Karmana, Ek. Okay, your words, okay, your feelings, how you talk, how you move, should tally or should be in harmony. Then and then you will be making a good communication. Okay. Then, if you have a lack of self-coordination, you cannot be a good communicator. And vocabulary level. Anyway, in vocabulary level also plays a 20% role. Okay. So these are the communicator-specific barriers. There are more actually. If lack of enthusiasm, you can't communicate. Of training in the art of speaking or writing, you can't communicate. Lack of motivation. See, when you communicate, no, there has to be some motivation. People motivate, like I'm dealing with a session because I'm motivated that I can share my knowledge and experience to you people so that it may help you in your future career. There has to be some motivation, then you will be in a position to make a good communication. If no motivation, you cannot do a good communication. Next, self-image. You have to always a positive self-image. And lack of feedback. If you don't know that how you are communicating, you don't know that you are a good communicator or a bad communicator. Prejudice, suppose you are prejudiced to certain people, then you cannot give a good communication or effective communication to that people. So this is how basically the communicator specific barriers are key. Now, there are receiver specific barriers also. First thing is self-confidence is more important when you are a communicator. Okay. And for that, you should have clarity of thoughts. Never remain in doubt. Okay. Never remain in doubt. Okay. Because suppose you remain in doubt, now you are destroying also. That was the spoken by Sri Krishna also in the Bhagavad Gita. Okay. Never remain in doubt. If you are in doubt, you are destroying yourself. So basically, that's more important. Self-confidence and clarity of thoughts are more important when you communicate to anybody. Now, receiver, because we said that it is a two-way process. There is a receiver also, and there are a person who is communicating. Many times what happens is receiver communication selective process. Normally, क्या होता है? Suppose you go to the audience, deliver a session or lecture. And if in the audience there are one group who are from the convent, and convent people somehow ego that they are the best in English. Right or wrong, we don't want to judge at this moment. They have ego that they are the best in the world and nobody in the world who are competent to us along with the English. Now, if the communicator speaks little wrong English grammatically, then you know that that group will basically discount that this guy is useless. He doesn't know ABC. Actually, the person who is communicating may be authority in the subject for which he is communicating. Only thing is, his grammar may not be as good as the convent people. But there is a perception in the convent people that if the person is not good in English, he is not good at all in any way. So that is a selective person. Whereas the person who is communicating may be authority in the subject, communicating. That's very important. Okay. So this is the selective perception, and this is the biggest barrier in communication. And unwillingness to change. People don't want to change when you communicate. Lack of interest in the topic. आप बैठ तो गए वहां जाके, लेकिन आपको वो जो बोलते हैं उसमें इंटरेस्ट ही नहीं है, तो आप कम्युनिकेशन परफेक्ट होता ही नहीं है. You are prejudiced to the sometimes speaker. Okay, you seem to be sometimes prejudiced to the speaker or a subject that is came in the topic, and you have a habitual instinct, which I said. You have a habit to oppose everything in the world. That happens. They are the traits actually. Okay. Other is vocabulary level. Sometimes the listener's vocabulary level is so poor that even though he or she wanted to ask some queries or questions, he or she cannot. Okay. Voice quality of the speaker, sometimes speaker's voice quality also affect the receiver. And the speaker has to be more important or more particular or specific about the modulation of the voice. Okay. Gesture of the speaker sometimes may not good for the receiver. Lack of eye contact in case of communicator is visible. Wherever the communicator is visible, communicator must have an eye contact with the people to whom he or she communicates. This is very important. This thing is very, very important actually. Okay. Because sometimes what happens if there is a group and communicator keeps on looking at the left side only, he doesn't he doesn't look at the people sitting on the right hand side, because some are left bias, some are right bias like this, or some are center bias. Okay. So if we keep on looking at the left side, then the people or the receiver sitting on the right hand side feel ignored, and they keep on playing a zero and cross game, and rather than listening to him or her. It happens. So basically, lack of contact is very, very, very important. Communicator must have. Uh, there are some verbal. Am I audible, no? Am I audible?
Yes, sir. You're audible.
There are some techniques which you need to foster. Verbal. One is know your head, maintain eye contact, make an statement, repeat a sentence or part of one, keep an open body position, and repeat the language word or two more. Now, why we need to do this? Why we need to repeat sentence or a part of one while you communicate? Reason is you don't know the first time you spoke whether it has reached to the head of the listener. So at least to make it doubly sure, you have to repeat some important sentence or important words. This is very important actually. It looks very simple, but this makes a more impact in a group meeting, or is my experience that in a team meeting or teamwork, this is very, very important actually. Repeat a sentence or part one or two. The reason is so that if it is ignored by chance first time, it will be. And second is if when you talk the same thing twice, it adds to the credential of that word. There's another thing which is required. Key. Now, research findings on listening. Listening is a very important fact and is a new discipline. Listening is also a skill. You will wonder it. It's not जाके बैठ गए और सुन लिया और घर वापस आ गए. That's not listening actually. Listening is a new skill which is to be developed now. People have understood that, researchers have understood that listening skill is also to be taught like a communication skills. Because nature has given 2 ears, 2 eyes, and one tongue. To the end of we should hear and see more than what we should speak. It means that we should hear, we should listen more than what we speak. Okay. Research findings are listening comprehension factor may be identified. Why people do not listen to identify? And that's the job of a communicator. Why? People are not listening sometimes. Now, it's a communicator's job to see that why they are not listening, what can be the problem, or where is the hitch. Improvement in listening achieved may not be permanent. Sometimes some people are subjectively listening. If the subject is of interest, you listen carefully. If subject is not your interest, you may just casually sit there and listen and come back. You don't know, without anything going into your head, you will come back as blank as earlier. So improvement in listening achieved may not be permanent. So any important communication, if you are listener, be the improvement, create improvement during that time. Distinct difference between speaking rate and the listening. We have seen in the beginning, 220 words per minute you can listen, whereas the maximum 110 words. So gap is to be built, and that is the discipline which we will learn now. Okay. By increasing the rate of speaking, but you cannot make it 220. Remember, 110 words per minute speaking rate, you cannot make 220 because otherwise the people will not understand anything. But try to hasten up and try to make it faster so that that gap will not create a problem. Okay. And in such a way that listen rate should not suffer. Even though you are basically making a faster reading, speaking, listen rate should not suffer. There is a high correlation between listening and intelligence. See, some people are not listening, they just waiting for their turn to speak. There is another problem. Okay, people are just waiting that the moment the person finishes, I will start speaking. It happens actually. Okay. So there is a high relation between the listening and the intelligence. Okay. 1/4 of our waking life is spent in listening. Very important. Elementary school children spend 1.5. Okay. So more than 1/4 we keep on listening in our life. Okay. There are 3 types of listening. Listening for recall, like learning. You may be listen for recall means whatever you listen, you recall in the exam paper and vomit into the exam paper so that you will get a good score. Then you will get a good score. Some are critical listening, like when in a company or industry, when you negotiate with the vendor. I'm sure you will come to that someday. You should know these techniques. Okay, you are negotiating or persuasion, you are pursuing something to the vendor or a party, is a very critical listening. Means you can't basically skip a single word out of it. You have to wait each and every word. Is critical listening. Some are non-direct listening, like counseling, customer care. You don't know whether you listen or not. It hardly matters. These are non-direct listening. You can improve your listening skill by being in good mental and physical health. See, one thing is very important in communication. You should be mentally and physically fit when you communicate. If you are mentally and physically not fit, you are unfit for communication. So never communicate if you are physically not fit, if you are sick, if you are some corona, I wish that. If you are something, don't communicate at that moment of time. So a communicator must be mentally and physically fit is the first requirement of any communicator. So see that when you go for the interview or when you go in the industry to negotiate or to critical this thing, talking, be careful that you should remain physical fit. Mental fit as such you have to be there, otherwise you can't do anything. Mentally has to be fit, isn't it? So you should be mentally and physically So, but listener also should be in a good mental and physical health, like communicator. Not being preoccupied. If your mind is preoccupied, you cannot become a good listener. Become a being open-minded, being a non-defensive, minimizing your interruptions, improve your listening. Yeah. Now, effective listening is hearing, interpreting, necessary understanding the message, and good listener has to distinguish facts from opinion. This is important. This is important. You have to distinguish the facts from the opinion. Say, communicator तो कुछ भी बोल देता है. Say, I'm talking so many things since last 1.5 hours or so, or 2 hours perhaps now. But the listener should actually filter what are the facts in that and opinion. So facts and opinion are different. And in soft facts are motherhood, opinion is fatherhood. Mother are fixed, so fact motherhood. Father because he is your father because your mother said that he is your father, unless you go through the DNA test, isn't it? So basically, fact and opinion are different. And the listener must distinguish what are the facts the communicator has said and what is his or her opinion. Sometimes communicator doesn't say fact, but sometimes he adds his own opinion into the communication. So listener must be aware about it. Okay. Listener should and evaluate inference and listening. He need to evaluate it. Direct prejudices, assumption, and attitude should be studied. That what are the direct prejudices, so that he can remove that. Restructure vague speaking and clearer meaning. Okay. Some vague speaking we should avoid. Clear meaning, we should be clarity of thought that what you are speaking. A good listener adds a new dimension to the art of communication. So it means that you not only be a good speaker, good communicator, you should be a good listener also. Very important. And remember that as a communicator, you should be listening. Always, always never become comfortable in listening unfair about it. Sometimes when you are delivering a session, or when you are explaining your project to the team in industry, team members sometimes comment on you. You don't get disturbed. Be ready, be prepared. Be prepared to basically the unpleasant things. It happens because everybody has their own perception. You basically look the thing differently. Other person may look the thing differently. Remember that. Therefore, always be ready to listen unpleasant thing when you are communicating. Okay, it may be unpleasant, but you have to listen it. Okay, and then you can filter. That's all. You can filter. That's a different story. But you can't avoid listening. Can't avoid listening as a speaker. Now, what are the filters? Why people don't listen? Or what are the reasons that people are basically not giving more points to the listen? One is value system. Value system. Okay. Value system is basically value system is say everybody are brought up in a different situations, in different family, different environments, and he is not appropriate to listen everything. He may not be appropriate to listen everything. Okay. And even though he may be equally qualified, his value system doesn't allow him to critically listen to things. I will give you my own experience. Many times we recruited IIT people in the lands. Now, many times how the behavior skill work. I would like to basically give a clarity on that. Or I will Suppose we have two IIT people. I is we normally assume that he is at the hard skill. Soft skill, we forget, we will teach them. Now, if I have two IIT people who are equally qualified, equally experienced, equal ability, and if there is only one position in the organization, to whom I will select? Suppose I have to select. There are two IIT people, both are equally qualified, both have equal experience, both have equal job knowledge. Everything is equal. Whom you should select? Very important. Normally, what happens is you will laugh. Okay. Because even though both are equally qualified, both are equally caliber, but both have a different value system. Both are grown up in a different environment. One may brought up in a very rich family, one may brought up in a very poor family, one brought up in a jhoppadpatti, one brought up in a palatial house. Remember that value system plays a role. And normally, if I have to select, normally how the people select? People select the person who is exactly like him. Whether you believe that's the truth, that's a fact. If I have to select the person and only one position, I will select the person who is exactly like me, who thinks like me, who talks like me, who works like me. I will select him or her. That's a value system. Your value system always works back of your mind. You know, that's very important. Okay, and that plays a very, very significant role. Okay. Second is expectation. People have expectation when they come to listen to you. In industry, when your team member comes to listen to you, they wanted some reward from you, and you will not fulfill that expectation. It happens. Many times it happens with me, although it happens with anybody. Okay. So he will not be good listener at that time. Past experience, suppose while attending the same person's communication, he doesn't have a good experience, then he will lose the interest from the listening. And everybody has their own beliefs and assumptions, which is grown up in his mind over a period of time from the childhood. Okay, and that also stops him or her to listen critically and selective perception, which we have talked earlier. So basically, if you look at here, these are the filters for listening. Art, therefore, listening is also an art. People do not listen as a problem. That art is also required to be developed like communication. You can control people by not answering. Most of the senior people in the industry does that. They hardly speaks. They hardly speaks. Very important. People hardly speaks. Senior people hardly speak. And sometimes looking to their gesture, you have to conclude that what he or she wanted to say or communicate. Looking to their eyebrows, we should know that what actually he or she trying to communicate to you. So some people control people by not answering only. And listening is much faster than speaking, it's because of the speed. Improvement in listening, awareness is the key. You should be aware that whether you are listening or not. Okay, where you are listening or not. It should be like a movie that you will just watch it, listen it, and come back and forget it. It shouldn't be like that because industry is a very, very serious business. Okay. So talk about types of listening earlier, so I'm not going into that. Basically now we go to the listening. I have talked enough actually. Okay, I have talked enough. So basically it's a very important as messages must be received as well as sent. So communicator जितना important है, listener भी इतना ही important है. Because otherwise there is no two-way process, as I have said earlier. A good question to ask also, please. Are you really listening or simply waiting for your turn to talk? Most of the people in the team to impress others, they are just, waiting that when their turn comes to speak. So they are not listening to their time. They are just waiting for their turn. This is another problem. If you are thinking about your reply before the other person has finished, then you are not listening. It's a reply in advance, actually, before someone asks the question. It means that you are not listening at all. You are not listening to the question at all. Okay. Now, keep your mouth shut as far as possible. That is what one of the criteria you listen. People talk too much. We language ourselves to our own destruction and defeat. Know when to talk and when to shut up. Avoid being too verbose. Oftentimes, silence speaks more than the words. So silence speaks more than the words. Remember, okay. So basically, don't speak too much. Okay. People can convey much thing without speaking. Okay. People can convey many things without speaking. So that's how you can improve a listening skill. Okay. This is how you can improve this. I have put some points. Eliminate distractions. Actually, therefore, what happens when you communicate, you should be dominant. Very important. Nobody should dominate the audience when you communicate. Like when you deliver a lesson, see that you are dominating the whole crowd, not anybody else. In the team, suppose you are then you will be communicating, then you should dominate. No other person should dominate the whole environment. So eliminate distractions and be dominant. Concentrate on what is to be communicated and what is to be listened. Focus on the speaker if you are a listener. Maintain an open mind and everything. What you have to be as a different story, but listen everything. Okay. Look for non-verbal cues because 80% of communication that non-verbal. React to emotive words. People add emotions to make you fool actually sometimes, but do not react to that. Ask questions. We'll have a question answer session after this. Ask questions so that things will be clear. Sit so you can see and hear. Sit in such a way you can sit and hear. Avoid prejudices. When you go with open mind. Don't keep any prejudice in your mind when you are going into the meeting. And if you are ask for clarification. This is important. Okay. So there are sender, there are receiver, and it seems easy. It seems easy that whatever the sender says, it will go to receiver. But whether it has gone to or not, you have to take a feedback. That's very important. Always have a feedback from the receiver, okay, and so that you know that they will or not. Okay. Now, all messages does not go as it is. You basically explain to the team member about your project, what you wanted, what you expect from whom. You basically takes everything. But there is a distortion. It doesn't go as usual. Whatever you stand, it doesn't go to the reverse. Look at here. It doesn't basically go to the receiver. It doesn't go to the team member as it is. There is a distortion. There is a distortion. And therefore, you need to take feedback from the receiver whether am I clear or not. Because it's a serious business. It's a serious business. Okay. So sometimes messages do not reach because of the distortion. Okay. So see that there won't be any distortion. There won't be any distortion, and clear message will be received by the participant. Okay. Now I have put a one slide visible, no? The Riemann triangle visible? Okay.
Yes, sir.
Pardon?
Yes, sir, it's visible.
Okay. I have put up a slide. Where is it? There is a triangle. Triangle has three edges. Everybody knows. One edge is good, one is fast, and one is cheap. This was invented by Truman Truman Raymond to be more specific. Truman Raymond invented this economist actually. He had researched so many events and come out what this triangle. Triangle is very tricky. He says that any object on the earth, if it is good and fast, it cannot be cheap. If it is fast and cheap, it cannot be good. And good and fast, it cannot be cheap. So, try to understand the concept. Take your mobile, take your laptop, take your tablet. If tablet is good and fast, it cannot be cheap. If tablet is fast and cheap, it cannot be good. If tablet is good and cheap, it cannot be fast. This is what the Truman said. This is what the Truman said. And equally, communication is like that. Communication is not cheap, so it has to be good and fast. Communication is not good, so it has to be fast and cheap. Communication is not fast, so it has to be good and cheap. Remember, if the communication is not good and fast, it has to be good and fast. If it is not good and fast, because if it is not fast, then listener will slip. If it is not good and fast, you should spend more money and time to correct the problems. Stock up your favorite ulcer medicines and aspirin, because the people won't listen to you, and remove all sharp objects from your office, because people will become aggressive towards you if it is not good and fast. Remember, that is what the Truman triangle in a later moment I have said to you. So when speaking or presenting in front of others, I have put a very simple term: appear relaxed. Appear relaxed. You should appear relaxed, not stressed. Stressed people never be a good. Okay, you should appear relaxed, confident, and in control of your mind. That's very important. And in control of your mind. Deliver your message with clarity and brevity. Whatever you want to say, with clarity you say it and brevity. With force, with very force you deliver. Command instant trust and respect from all. You have to command respect actually. Respect is a circular से respect नहीं आ जाता है. Respect के लिए you have to command it. You have to become assertive, then you will get the respect. You know how to satisfy the needs of your own. You should know that how you can train and convince the audience. That's what basically the simple rules of communication. Okay. It's just a sentence I have learned that people will forget and you say what you say. People will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. And that's the reason you should be more assertive. I have not touched upon the assertive skill today. We might touch upon tomorrow. We might touch upon tomorrow. The assertive skill I'm concluding at this slide. Okay, and tomorrow I will start with assertive skill. And I would like to take entrepreneurial skill more, because that is what the requirement of is workshop. Basically, when you go out, okay, I mean, I can close my presentation actually. I can basically close my presentation. When you go out, okay, from the college, two things. Over a period of time, either you will become a good executive, you will become a good executive, or you will become an entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurs is a new concept coming in today. Okay, and there are skills. What skills are to be developed? Entrepreneurs will see tomorrow. Tomorrow I will go talk much on the entrepreneur skill and the assertive skill, because all entrepreneurs are assertive. That was my own experience. Okay. And entrepreneurship is you become a businessman, small or big. Okay. CEO means you become a chief executive officer in an industry. Okay. You become a chief executive officer in an industry. Okay. So basically, this is how the tomorrow's agenda. We'll start with the assertive skill, which is basic requirement for good communicator also, and basic requirement for becoming a good entrepreneur also. Tomorrow we'll talk about entrepreneurship also and assertive skill also. But today, by and large, whatever I have covered communication skill to a extent. Okay. I have covered that how well do you speak, what are the benchmarks in the communications. I will share with you through the Vinita or Janani two sheets. They will basically share with you. Okay. One is there is a self-assessment of your communication skill. You have to fill up yourself. Second is to indicate how well do you speak. Two, you can say exercise or a self exercise. Remember, in both the exercise, you don't have to, submit it back. You should keep it with you only. It is your own X-ray actually. Okay, when you give the answers, it is your own X-ray, and don't look for a right answer. In both the cases, there is no right and wrong answer. It is your answer. That is more important. It is your answer. Basically, it is your self-assessment. It is your self-assessment. So remember that I will be sharing today with Vinita, and ultimately, in turn, she will share with all of you, and sincerely fill up those steps. Okay? And with this, I am concluding my today's session actually. And I wanted, if you wanted to ask any questions, there are 10 minutes or so. I'll be happy to answer the questions. I think if you want to ask a question, either you can unmute your microphone, one person at a time.
Hello, may I? Am I audible?
Yeah, Fatima Rangwala, yeah. Anybody wanted to ask something?
Hello, sir.
Yes, I can listen.
Sir, as you gave the example of that IIT person.
IIT.
Yes, sir, IIT person. So you told that I will choose a person who is similar to me. So can it be said that it is an example of like it is your perception that you will choose the person who is similar to you?
Obviously, because I or whosoever interviews are of the power. Because he or she who is selected, he or she are in power to select the person. That is number one. He is authorized by the company, or he himself might be entrepreneur, and he or she wanted a person to in his industry. So it is up to him or her whom to select. That is number one. Number two, everything is equal. That's what I said. Everything is equal. And this fumble situation occurs 9 times in the industry. Everything is equal. His qualification, his experience, his capabilities. Okay. Only grown-up might be different. Both grown-up might be different. Both have a different value system. Okay. Now, if I have to select, I will obviously select the person who is of my value system, who is grown up like me, who talks like me, who walks like me, who thinks like me, so that I can take a good work for it. This is a simple logic which is not written in the book actually, but that exactly happens like this in the industry. Sometimes you say, sometimes some people will reject you. Don't worry that you are rejected because you are not good. It's not that you are bad, therefore you are rejected. Sometimes the selector may have his or her own perception. And since he or she is on the power, you hardly can do much. Try to accept the fact, try to accept the reality. Try to accept you must now because you are going out of the college after some time. And a very cruel environment. Remember, industry is a very cruel environment. Be very clear about it. So people will damage you, people will hurt you, and so many things will happen. So many things will happen. And don't lose your heart. Never
So,
lose your heart
sir,
because, yeah,
judgment. We are getting judged over here, aren't we?
you are right.
Sorry, sir.
You are audible actually. And
We are getting judged over here, aren't we? I'm asking that.
madam, I didn't get it actually.
I'm asking that we are getting judged over here.
No, because I said that communicators should not be judgmental, but there are judges who have to judge. I am not judging you. The problem I am talking about the communicator. Communicators should never become a judgment. You are judged because there is a system also. You are judged for the other reasons actually. And that judgment is done by judges or examiners, whosoever is there. So remember that judgment is something different. When you communicate, you are not in that role. That's very important. You are of communication so that whatever your viewpoint, whatever your opinion, whatever you wanted to emphasize, you will communicate effectively where you are not to judge. If you are judged, then you are different to perform. Okay, so judgment is have to be done. Judgment is to be done actually, but not by the communicator. Communicator should not do the judgment, at least while communicating.
Okay, sir. Thank you so much.
That's the question. Okay.
Hello,
Anything else?
Deepak sir.
Meman,
See, sir. Very
Arif,
good. This is Atif.
yeah, anything?
Yes, sir. Firstly, I just want to say two lines that some of the topics I personally find very good, and thanks a lot for sharing your this much important experience.
Yeah,
Now, if you allow, there are two questions particularly which I want to discuss with you. Firstly,
yeah,
we have shared about the traits versus the skills or the skills earlier
yeah,
in the lecture.
yeah.
So just a thing came in my mind, Deepak sir, that let's assume there is a person A who is having a proportion of traits a bit more comparatively to the proportion of skills. Now, I want to know your point of view regarding it, that what we should be doing in that matter. Should we be focusing to improve our skills, or we should be focusing or improving our traits only, which is already good? What do you
No,
think
you
about
have
it?
to, I mean, you have to focus on skills, not
Skills, right?
traits. Traits is some,
Okay.
बहुत लंबा प्रोसेस है साहब ट्रेड को चेंज करना. Trait is
Right, right.
something which is your DNA actually. It is with your birth. You yourself over a period of time, trait may change automatically. You don't have to do much actually. You don't have to do much. Skills to be developed every now and then. Traits
Good.
आप change करने की try करोगे ना, so it is painful.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever traits, suppose you are aggressive, you cannot become mild overnight. Remember, you remain aggressive throughout your life.
Mm-hmm.
If you are docile, you remain docile throughout your life. Remember, आप इतना जल्दी कुछ नहीं कर पाओगे. हाँ, therefore the skill require that aggressiveness nature will not come in your growth. That's very important, and that is a skill. Trait को change करना बहुत difficult है, and therefore I don't know. Are you?
No, sir, but I can understand it.
Basically, there is idiom ना गुजराती में प्राण અને પ્રકૃતિ સાથે જાય. It means that your nature and death come together. Nature is basically traits. Your nature never goes. It remains with you till you die actually. Till you die. So उसको ज्यादा change करने की जरूरत नहीं है और change कर भी नहीं पाओगे. ट्रेड को चेंज करना बहुत डिफिकल्ट है और रादर इम्पॉसिबल. वो बहुत लंबे टाइम वो ऋषि मुनि करते थे. ओके, लंबे टाइम के बाद शायद थोड़ा बहुत कुछ चेंज हुआ, बट दैट इज ऑल्सो टेम्पररी. ट्रेड में कुछ परमानेंट चेंज नहीं होता है. वो टेम्पररी चेंज होता है. बट वाई स्किल इज रिक्वायर्ड? स्किल रिक्वायर्ड कि भाई जो आपका ट्रेड है ना, वो ट्रेड आपका ग्रोथ में ऑब्स्टेकल ना बन जाए, एंड दैट इज द स्किल रिक्वायर्ड. सो आपको को इस तरह से यूज करने का, एंड फॉर दैट स्किल डेवलपमेंट इज रिक्वायर्ड. ट्रेड को इस तरह से यूज करने का कि आपके ग्रोथ में बीच में ना आए. इट विल नॉट बिकम हर्डल. It will not become hurdle in your growth as a good employee or as a good businessman, okay, or as a good executive. It should not come in your way. So, because आप change करना difficult है, don't attempt much actually on that. Okay, don't attempt much on that. वो automatically over a period of time, experience in such a way that that gets automatically changed to extent. To a extent, I'm very loaded words I'm using, to a extent. And sometimes it is just temporary change. Again, you will come back originally state. आप किसी से भी कोई देख लीजिए, किसी आदमी का स्टडी कर लीजिए, आपका फ्रेंड का भी, किसी का भी, वो बोलेगा कि अभी मैं चेंज हो गया. साफ कोई चेंज नहीं होता है. ओनली थिंग टू डेवलप ए स्किल सो दैट वो ट्रेड उसके प्रोग्रेस में बाधा न डाले, बस. That is important. Be clear about it. This is you are very young people actually. And that is, I have also suffered a lot of things, and I have progressed also with the skill, because let me tell you, I joined as a trainee programmer in 1973 in ICI, and most of you or all of you might not have born also at that time. And I reached to the vice president level and in charge of three big complexes of Reliance at the end when I superintended. Okay. Until I am a consultant to the Reliance Industry Limited for delivering a session to their employees on soft skill. So basically, trade I know कि trade कितना difficult होता है. Trade आपको तकलीफ में भी ला देता है. Only thing you should be aware about that trades कि क्या होगा, and you develop a skill accordingly so that trade आपका progress में बाधा ना बन जाए. Be clear about it. Trade change जरूरी नहीं और इतना easy भी नहीं है, sometimes possible भी नहीं.
Surely, sir, I understand.
Am I clear?
No. Yes, sir. Thank you. Sir, one
Yeah.
slide in the earlier basis when we were discussing where we have compared man and woman with the Bluetooth and Wi-Fi. So I personally liked that slide a lot. I was about to say that
It is just to say,
2020.
wow,
Yeah.
is the connection. Just thank you for your compliment. It's basically to show that communication means connecting. That's all.
Yeah.
Networking.
And sir,
Communication means networking between the people.
right.
Yeah.
Sir, the second question which I was talking about it was that we have discussed that when we are about to communicate with a person, we should be starting with a hello, which you have shared, and then
Yeah.
there must be a slightly intent of emotional, and the second, if I'm not wrong, the mischievous part, or I have noted it down. 1 second.
No, actually, I will be sharing slide also. Don't worry about it. See, actually, the point here is when you communicate
Humorous
with
was
the
the word. Slightly humorous and emotional. So my question is, Deepak sir, that should we be applying this two contents in most of the communication which we will be dealing with the new ones, or we should be keep it on the particular ones of presentation? There is the slightly intent of
that is basically for a new one. So
okay.
basically you don't know him well, but in the industry में पहले सब लोग नए ही होते हैं ना. So it's basically when you meet him or her first time, when you meet him or her first time, always remember that you say hello, that's okay, just to give a respect to each other. And second is never ask personal question, never be emotional in the beginning, never be humorous in the beginning, and be judgment. I mean, some sort of a judicial. Say judicial. So that's very important actually. But once you are friendly or when you are knowing each other well, when you know each other's responsibility, then basically you can apply all these skills you have.
Okay, after
But
that.
when you are new, don't try to apply anything. Okay,
Okay.
say just hello and always ask a general question. मैंने बोला ना कि आप बोल दो कि अभी डोनाल्ड ट्रम्प व्हाइट हाउस कब खाली करेगा, ऐसा ऐसा पूछो. But don't ask something which is about his family or about his job or about his progress, his position. Don't ask all these things in the beginning when you are new to it. New means new remain for week or month also, depends.
Yeah.
New, when I say the word new, na, it means that you are not used to with him for month also sometimes. So take that time also as a new. Once you are basically familiar with him or her, then you can basically have other tax. That's all, other tactics. But in the beginning, you should not venture into those. That is very
Okay,
important.
Deepak sir.
Thank
Okay,
you.
sir. Thank you. Okay, thank you. And it was very easy to have a conversation with you. So thanks a lot, and
Welcome,
have a nice
welcome.
time. Yeah.
Is Geeta there?
Hello. Yes, sir. I'm here.
Vinita, can we conclude today?
Yeah, I hope none of the students are having any query. So
Yeah,
we can conclude the session and we can end the session for the day.
yeah.
Thank you, Deepak sir, for a wonderful session. It really kept me and my students engrossed overall for the session. So I think it was a real good combination that we got an expertise in IT and a soft skill. So we can't have a better combination in that way. Because of that, we could connect our soft skill with IT also, keeping a very apt examples of Bluetooth, Wi-Fi. So
Yeah,
I thank all.
we have been trained for soft skill. That's all. Otherwise,
Yes,
my hard skill is IT.
yes, sir. And it is always good to have knowledge with experience. And you are having more than 40 years of experience. So
That's
it
right.
is always good to hear from you, sir. And
Thank
students,
you.
I would also appreciate, sir, that he also did his homework very well
I appreciate the questions also which came.
and had a testing of WebEx also even a day before. So you should also
Yeah,
be, yeah, you should also be doing such things whenever you go for a public speaking or like thing. You should be really well
yeah.
versed with your content, presentation, and all over ambience.
Thank
So
you.
really commendable, sir, and thank you. It is really a great opportunity and fortune to us to hear from you. And I would
And
thank, yeah, I
one
would,
thing, Vinita,
yes, sir.
I will be sharing those two exercises to share the participants.
Yes, sir, sure. Yeah, thank you
Okay.
so much, sir. And I would thank on the behalf of FCIT department, M.Sc program for taking this invite on a very short notice and
Yeah.
joining this workshop online for our students and to enlighten our students on soft skill.
Okay.
Thank you so much, sir.
Okay. See you tomorrow and good call.
Hello, am I audible? नहीं होगा. Hello, am I audible, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, everybody. I think having certain network issue. Thank you, everybody. We will be joining back tomorrow on the same time, sharp at 2:50.
Yeah, sure.
So everybody be there
Sure.
and
Okay.
join on time. So
Yeah.
thank you for all. Thank you so much, sir,
Uh,
once again.
good night.
Can we end up the meet?
Yeah, sure. Good night.